What time is it?
Pasa pasa,
Time?
pasa pasa.
Time? Every gal, every gal, every gal, every gal. I go me a
Pasa pasa.
don't stop, girl, wine, drink until I get. Drink and rave till the morning light, my girl. Center. Have a shot, man.
Hey everyone, welcome to Relationship Pasa Pasa. We hope you are being safe and well and spending time with your family and friends. So this week, before we jump in, we actually want to say a big thank you again for listening, not only to today's episode, but for listening to all our episodes. And joining us every 2 weeks to hear what we're talking about, engaging with our content, sending us your suggestions and questions. We really appreciate you making the time to do that. So we wanted to send a thank you at the beginning of our episode today. So before we get started, let's do a roll call for our audio podcast listeners. Is Soph here?
Here.
Awesome. Shar?
Hi guys.
Mish?
What up?
Okay, so today's episode is a quickie. We are talking really quickly about dollars and cents. And so we've talked about quite a number of topics, as you all know. Finances is one of the things that we haven't really covered, and we thought, hey, why not? We're not finance experts, but certainly we have experience, right? We're whole adults budgeting and spending money. So we thought it would be fun and interesting to share some of the lessons we've learned about financing along our journey with you, our listeners today. This is a quickie episode, so if it's something you're listening to in the car on the way somewhere, we hope you enjoy it. If you're at home, it'll be quick, so you can listen to another episode as you have time. So today we're talking a little bit about money habits and, again, lessons that we've learned. And we'll also explore, are we talking about making dollars or are we talking about making cents? And so we are going to jump right in. So I'm going to open the floor to the ladies to hear a little bit about whether finance was taboo in your household growing up. Because I remember like money being talked about, but I don't remember talking about how to manage finances per se.
Same with me. My parents, how they managed the household was as long as I can remember, they split up the finances. So I always knew my father took care of house bills, so whatever it was, light, rent, mortgage, I don't know. But light, water, car stuff was all my father. Anything to do with us was all my mother. So if we wanted new shoes, clothes, bag, bus fare, anything, go ask your mother. Always the situation. I remember when I was going to college, my father always said to me, do not get a credit card. Do not get a credit card. All know I have 3 credit cards. My father said, what do you need credit card for? My mother has a credit card. My father has none. He has never had it. But there's no credit system. Well, there's credit system in Jamaica now, but there was never credit system in Jamaica for the longest. So having a credit card served no purpose for him. It just meant you were in debt at some point. Once you swiped, you were in debt to someone. So for him, it was do not get a credit card. And that's all I remember money-wise growing up. I remember when I came here and had to learn more about money and learn more about being independent. As I was getting my pitfalls, as I was trying to scrounge up money for certain things, it was, okay, well, you need to make sure you have 3 months worth of income saved up so that if anything happens, you learn as you go along. That's how it was. It wasn't a situation where when we were growing up, we had to think about money or worry about it. I'm sure my parents had their struggles, but I never I never knew about it. As I said, it was you want something, go ask your mother. Mommy was like yes or no, depending on what was going on. It wasn't. I never thought, oh, mommy broke today. It could have been. It could have been she budgeted for it. I had no idea. But I guess to me, that's kind of all the money or all the finance background I had. And as I became more of an adult, you just kind of have to learn, and you kind
Yeah.
of find yourself asking these questions. And I'm kind of surrounded by you guys who have more knowledge of these things, so that when you guys are saying something, I'm like, oh, tell me about that. What do you do for that? I mean, I didn't know anything about house stuff until I was interested in buying a house. Nobody was like, okay, when you're 18 or when you're this, you need to set yourself up so that at some point you need to buy a house. Yeah, we know that at some point you want to buy a house. That's a goal. But right now, we just trying to live. We trying to live paycheck to paycheck. So the
Yeah.
goal was never to set that up. So that's just my experience.
That makes
I
sense.
did the complete opposite of experience. So unlike Misha, I grew up poor. Okay, I, we were poor, and I knew we were poor. There were days we would go to bed without food. Poor. Okay. There were days we go to my neighbor and just sat there until she finished cooking so I could get some food. Poor. So money was never discussed. I never had it. It was never there. And when my dad left Jamaica, it was even worse because my dad, for the most part, was a provider. And when he came to America, and my mom had to, take care of us I don't know. I guess we were there for like a good 10 years before we came and joined my dad here in America. It was rough. So money was just never discussed. But one thing I know for sure, my dad have always said and have always done was the importance of saving. He was like, even when you don't have nothing to save something. Like he was really big on saving. So that's one thing I remember. He has always said, um, in terms of money. That's the only thing I can remember my dad said to us in terms of money growing up. In my household, my dad was always the provider. He buys the food, he pays the bills. Similar to me, and this happened when we came to America. When we all came to America, my dad did the mortgage. My dad bought the food, clothes and shoes and stuff. No, that was on my mom. But in terms of
Yep.
finances, the only thing I can remember, and my mom never talks about money. My mother is terrible with money. Don't tell her I said that, and I hope she never watched. So, but she really is. My dad believes in saving, and that's where I get that from my father. That's my experience in my household with money. We
I'm
never
curious to
had it.
hear. I'm curious to hear Sharno, because I'm wondering if this is a cultural thing with the father doing one side and the mother doing the other side. Because I don't know if that's normal, but it was normal for us. Anyway, Shar, I'm curious.
I would have to go back to my grandparents, where I know my grandfather was a provider in the house, and my grandmother was a provider in a different sense. I mean, clearly she took care of the 13 kids plus X amount of cousins and neighborhood and stuff. But I would say my grandmother was a provider in the sense of, and I'm glad we're talking about, I don't know how I started talking about my grandparents, but I'm glad I am, because she was like literal take hand make fashion or whatever.
Yeah,
So my grandfather had cows and stuff. She would make butter. She would make ice cream. She was just an industrious woman, hardworking woman, and she made everything work. I mean, like my mom and her siblings would tell us how the uniform them have to pass down. One, she would make dresses. That's how my mom became such an excellent sewer. I mean, she decided that, boy, I can't work with this one clothes. So
Yep.
she became a very talented. I mean, like she's extremely talented, like dressmaker. Um, because when she was younger, she was like, no, sir, I want different dress. So I'm gonna find a way. Like they just became industrious because of their circumstances. And they would tell you they didn't have a lot of things materially, but
Mhm.
grandma always managed to feed all mouths and neighborhood mouths. And like she always And my grandfather was a church deacon, so he would be like, "No man, just go to Miss Mabel. Dinner is there. Dinner not there." So she always, and I think so. I grew up in a house. I would say I wouldn't say I was very aware of money.
Right.
I don't think I grew up with a lot of material want, but I
Right.
didn't grow up with a lot of material excess because my mother is just a type of person where she's like, she's not wasteful. She
Right.
feels like we should be appreciative of everything. She feel like leftovers must eat and food in the fridge. She's just that kind of a person to this day. And so I am that kind of a person. It doesn't even matter how much money I have, I'm not wasting money buy food. Food in the fridge, something can eat. Like that's would be the culture I grew up with. But I would agree with Nisha. I wasn't very aware of money. I wasn't very cognizant of it till I got my own bills with my name and realized it needed to come out of my bank account.
No, seriously.
Because my
Yeah,
because my
I
mom
knew.
provided, and when she couldn't afford it, we just knew that we must act like we knew something. Don't ask
Yeah.
for it because it's waste of money that our mommy gonna be like, you have
You have
McDonald's
McDonald's money.
money.
Yo, Mo and I were talking about that the other day when there was, the McDonald's down in Halfway Tree. Have you guys ever been to that McDonald's? It wasn't the traditional. It wasn't the
one that you can get rice and peas.
and peas and curry goat. Yep,
Yeah.
that McDonald's.
What?
Yes,
McDonald's?
McDonald's it wasn't
It's near Andrews. It's near my
right
school.
across the street from Andrews. There was a McDonald's right there, and we used to pass there all the time because, of course, my mother used to be associated with Andrews, and all the time, can we go McDonald's? You have McDonald's money. All the
Or we're going in a store. Don't ask for nothing.
Seriously.
Seriously. Yup, that McDonald's was the bomb though. We were just talking about that like 2 days ago, me and Mo. No lie about how them used to say if we have McDonald's money. Anyway,
Yup.
sorry, go ahead.
I guess that was my experience. And then, I grew up in a household with my mom and my stepdad, and he was just like the sweetest guy. So he would just treat us and like slip a, "Oh, you want patty? Oh, come and get Burger King." So I had that little sneak, that like those little moments. But and yeah, that was just I really did not consider money until I had to like
Be an adult.
figure things. Yeah, but maybe I could have been taught earlier about saving.
Right. Yeah.
Or
Sounds
saving in a
like-
certain way, like not just saving to have money to spend, but saving.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. It sounds like, for the most part, right, as kids, we don't necessarily know about the money. We know money is happening, it's a thing in the house, but it's not something that we're pulled into the conversation, at least at home, about.
Right.
So I guess I'm curious. I heard this from pretty much all of you. You had to learn about money kind of as you got into your own adulthood and started getting bills.
Yeah.
Right? Were there like things that you found helpful early in that journey, learning about money on your own, pretty much?
You know what? One thing Misha said that I always, again, my mother has never had any form of money. You know what? It makes sense because my mother has never been the one to really have the money. Like, when my dad was in Jamaica, he was the one who worked. My mom stayed home with the kids, so he just spent the money. When he came to America, my mom attempted to work, but the kids just stayed with the kids. But in terms of the savings, my dad has always, like I said, talked to us about the importance of putting away a little something, something. You never know when, a rainy day, something. And because of that, I must honestly say, from the first day I started making a dime, I was putting away something, something. I remember when I was buying my house, my dad was completely shocked. He was like, where did you save that money? I'm like, from the first day I started working, I was putting everything into something, as you've always said to us. Buying a house has definitely not completely poor and broke and back to square one. But when I was buying
Poor and broke.
a house, because I probably highlight to the house. If anybody out there listening, if you don't have a house, I
Don't get
rush
a
it.
house.
Seriously.
Oh my
But
gosh.
I was very proud of myself for to say the least, that buying a house wasn't so much a struggle because of from an early age my father always said to me, put away, and I have, I've always done that. But in terms of regular financing, it was when I started paying my own bills that I realized that just putting away something is not all you need to do. You also need to manage your money. You can't just say, "Well, I saved $2 and I can just spend the rest." That's not good money management. So that I learned the hard way when I found myself living paycheck to paycheck, even though I am still living paycheck to
But
paycheck.
at least you're living in a house, living paycheck to paycheck.
You know what I'm saying? But I think the hardest part was learning to manage the money that I
Right.
kept in the house. That was hard because everybody knows when you purchase a house, you have bills coming in, and for the most part, I don't know about you, but for the most part, your bills just always seems to outweigh the what you have, your income. So you had to now learn to, you know,
Yep.
play with what you have. So that I can say the art of playing with what you do have, I learned as an adult paying bills because no one prepared me for that as a kid. And honestly, I can say my parents didn't prepare because they themselves didn't know. I genuinely think they didn't know because their parents didn't prepare them. Because back in Jamaica, I don't know about your parents, but my parents and their parents and their parents, they didn't have money like that to have that talk. They just pretty much farm or whatever they were doing, get a little money, put food on the table, and that was just the routine. There was never an excess to where they can say, okay, with an excess, do this or do that. We never had that luxury. I think that's why my parents was never able to educate us on that, or about that. So as now adults, we have to learn the hard way. I have
Yeah.
to learn the hard way.
I think for me, what I realized is that my parents do what I also do, which is kind of shelter my children with regard to money, though I do explain it to them because they'll say stuff like it's only whatever, and then I have to give them the context of what that money is. So this compared to what you think this would cost is, and you explain that. But I left home when I was 16, so at that point my parents are still supporting me. There's I don't think at that point they're like, let us teach her how to manage money X, Y, and Z. But as I became more of an adult, if I said to my parents, okay, I want to buy a house in 1 year, let us talk through this. As I realized that we do as a family with regard to a lot of things. So maybe they always know that that's how we are raised, where if you have a project or if you're doing anything, that we can talk through the process. Because once I'm like, okay, let's buy a house, my father's like, okay, what's the rate, how much down payment you need, what's the plan, when we need the money by, and we're figuring out the money at that point. He's not teaching me 10 years before this, though, that maybe you need to put aside $10 every year for the next 10 years and it'll be easier for you. Because at that point, I don't think he's thinking about that. At that point, he is saying, you live your life and I will try to guide you through it as best as possible. So, and I say this because my father is more of the money guy than my mother is. Because I think my father is the one that always dealt with the bigger money. When I say the bigger money aspects, as we've discussed, house, car, blah, 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 blah. So I've always just considered him more of the money person than my mother is. But he still don't believe in credit cards. So, child, yeah, that's a whole different thing. But I think as I am learning, I think there are people, I said that to say, I think there are people that I can go to for certain things. So if I need to learn about money for credit cards or how to manage my credit cards and how that can affect my credit, I'm not going to call my father and say, hey, I'm trying to manage my credit. What do you think I should do about X, Y, and Z? But if I want to do, if I'll call somebody else who's versed in that. But if I want to do something else, maybe I'll call this person or that person, somebody who I know. If I want to do stocks, I'm calling Lati and saying, hey, walk me through X, Y, and Z. Because I realize that there is no possible way for me to be an expert on all these things. And I am not trying. I'm not going to be an expert in stocks. I'm not going to be an expert in trying to have second income and how to manage that. I will just talk to people who know how to do these things and have them walk me through it, because my brain already saturated with all the things that are happening in life, and there's just no way. So I just think resources and having people in your life who are versed on this. If I have people in my life who just wasting money, buying things unnecessarily, and living paycheck to paycheck, so then then that's not gonna help me, because then that's just gonna encourage that living. But if we're surrounded by other people who will encourage the good things, encourage saving, encourage partner drawing, even though partner drawing kind of teething.
Partner drawing.
You don't know partner? You never do partner yet?
Yeah, my sister-in-law throw a partner right now. I want joining with her in January.
I mean, no, nothing's wrong with partner. It's saving.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a weird kind of saving, but whatever way to save the money, whatever works for you. If it encourages it, then I'm for it. That's how I learn.
No, I love partner. Only not the saving part, because I feel like everybody could save for themselves. But I like the community building part, where if you need a lump sum of money and there's a community of people and we're all gonna put in, and you might need it sooner than like another person in the group, you can like do your regular paying over the period, but you could get the money earlier because of your need, or people can time it. So I like that aspect of the partner. I have to add a disclaimer. So both of my parents work in finance.
Oh my God. You should be ashamed of yourself.
One work in banking. I must say that the knowledge has always been there. I probably was not willing to be lectured to at a young age, right? Because my father used to always, now this is my biological dad, he always used to want to get me thinking about it. Because I remember when he used to try to sign deal with me, this for this, that for that, and I was just like, am I serious? Like, he always tried to lecture somebody. So I must say the opportunity and the information was available to me younger than I took advantage of it. But as I got older and wiser, I started to tap in. Because even, I think Soph said it, Nish said it, about the saving and making sure you have like this pot of money, whether it's 6 months of mortgage and car payments, sitting down. Like, I've always been told that kind of stuff. Have I listened? When I got older.
Not always, right.
When I got older, not when I was younger. And then another part of it for me is being an independent person and a private person. And so battling with trying to take care of my responsibilities on my own without talking or having to always pull in my parents, because are they willing? Always willing. But then there's a part of me that's like, okay, it's good to know they're there, but I don't want to use that resource. I want to and so that has also been useful for me to pull on them for education, but not necessarily like always be like, this is what. I'm like, sometimes when you go out there and try to accomplish and do things on your own, that helps too, but you should never be like me and completely not use all your resources. But
Carrie, I'm curious.
You said that. Like, I just said that same thing. I must admit, like, I try not to. I use the word burden, but I know they don't see it as a burden.
Right.
But I go to my parents, because in my mind, they've already been through. They figured it out, so I need to figure it out.
Take care of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. So
right.
I don't go to my parents for anything at all. I remember my dad said to me when I was getting married, he was like, I'm your father. I'm supposed to. And I'm like, no. if the man I'm married to myself can't pay for a wedding, I'm not getting married. No. And he's like, that's not how it works in America. I'm like,
That's
"Oh,
what
in
I was
Jamaica."
just going to tell you. That's a cultural thing because we're raised to be very independent, but trust and believe, no American, let me not say no, but the American culture is way different where you can depend on your parents to buy you a house, to buy your first car, to put on your wedding, to do all these things. In Jamaica, you are adult, you get a job, you're there on your
Yeah.
own. Make sure you can't take care of yourself because your parents can't do it no more. Okay?
Listen, didn't you used to buy snacks from your classmates in high school? What
Okay.
were we, 12,
Child,
13? We have people we know who have certain snacks or
healthy.
certain beauty
Yep.
products.
Yeah.
You're an entrepreneur from birth. You can't help yourself. Or
Can't-
Jamaica, can't help yourself.
So let me ask this.
We ask more questions. You
We
don't
want
answer
to
none.
hear. We want to hear your
I
background.
want to chime in. My experience is a bit different from you all in terms of this two-parent household where you have one doing this and the other doing that. My mom has always been, for the most part, primarily the breadwinner in my family. And she's, even though we didn't have those money management conversations, I think through her actions as her own business person, that was enough for me to understand. Like, if you want to make life, you have to go out there and do it, right? Every day, consistently, out here making life. And so I think my very first understanding of money happened just by watching my mom and how she was able to maintain a household by herself, and doing so in a way that's really non-traditional. Like, it wasn't a let me go to school and get a degree and do this thing. It was, I have to get out here and make this happen in life. So those are some of the earlier money lessons I learned. And then as I got older, I think, as Misha said, you tap into other resources for more information about different things,
Right.
whether it was buying a car or buying a home or whatever the financial goal was at that time. So I am curious, as we're talking about, your friends in high school selling things in class. I don't know if this is your experience, but I find that sometimes talking about money with your friends can be taboo. Like, I feel like people they don't want to feel vulnerable with their friends about what they're making or how they're spending their money, how they're investing. Everyone's like,
Right.
I don't know if I should share this. And I'm like, there's so much benefit in sharing because now you get to learn from other people's mistakes and learn from what worked well. So I'm wondering, do you have that experience with your other circle of friends where it's like money is taboo?
First of all, I already know what Sophie's gonna say. What other circle of friends? Why you got another circle of friends? Sorry.
Why not?
Well,
What
at
is
least one
happening?
person in the group knows me. Thank you. What other circle? Carrie,
Anyway.
No, but you know what I mean. People that you're
Well,
close to,
Carrie and
even your
Sean.
church members.
Not
Misha too.
Misha not cheap. Misha have one other friend that we all know.
But she's a circle all by herself.
My God,
Let's
she's like
keep
a
her
diamond or
circle.
something.
A
I don't know.
diamond,
Yes.
all by herself.
Oh God. Anyway, you were saying.
I guess the question is it a taboo topic with people you consider friends, right? They may be work friends, social friends, right? I'm just curious because I feel like that's my experience. Like, people don't necessarily want to talk about money per se. It'll be like a very surface conversation, but not a
Yeah, and I think that's
this is what
because-
I'm doing, this is what's working, this is
Yeah, I think that's because people don't want to be judged, or if you fail at something, you don't want people to be like, kind of told you so, or you don't want. I think it's an ego thing a lot of the times, and I don't mean it like, oh, this person thinks they make a lot of money and they should tell people they make a lot of money because then people are going to expect. I think it's that people naturally do not like to be seen as failures. And with any money decision, I think we have to take chances. You either take chances by saving your money and not spending it, and then maybe something happens, and then you should have spent it, or you spend the money and you shouldn't have spent it. Whatever decision you make, it's a chance that you're taking. And if somebody is if you're transparent in that, then any mistake that you make, people are going to judge you for it, or you feel like people are going to judge you for it. So I think it's less of I don't want you to come rob me of this whatever money that I have, and more of I don't want to fail and see me failing because of it. And I think it's also a cultural thing, because people live beyond their means, not because they want to live beyond their means. I mean, technically, obviously they do, but because they put up a front of I am doing better than I am, because they don't want people to judge them. So I think that has a lot to do with it. I don't really know from personal experience. I don't know. Y'all know Lati love money, so she talks about it a lot. A lot. And she has many streams of income, and she has one job but many streams of income.
That's my girl.
Good
Um,
for her.
so I won't talk about that anymore. And so we talk about money all the time, but not in a sense of, well, I mean, yeah, not in the sense of this is how much money I have, this is how much money, blah blah blah. I mean, we don't hide how much money we make. We talk about our how much money's on our retirement, how much money we're saving, how much money we're paying mortgage. Those things come up. We don't sit down together and plan our budget or anything, but those things come up, and I don't feel like I need to hide that from her. I don't think she's gonna judge me if I say, "Yo, I just got $5,000 from the IRS." She's gonna be like, "So where my money there?" But but outside of that, she's gonna say, "You should put X, Y, and Z. You should give me X, Y, and Z to invest, or you should do X, Y, and Z." I mean, I don't feel like I can hide that from her. I don't think I can hide that from you guys either. I don't have an experience where I feel like you guys will say, what did you do with your money? What kind of stupid decision was that? Or why are you being so stingy? Why you not? I don't feel that in any way. But I'm sure I'm not gonna have conversations with my coworkers or with people that I'm not really close with, because they don't understand, and they're going to judge. Just naturally, they're going to judge. So I think
Yeah, I
as
was gonna say.
as you said, co-workers, Mish, I immediately, I'm thinking to myself, my co-workers, we all work in the same school system. Our salaries, no, but yeah, it's something we never talk about. It's just something that is an understanding that you do not discuss your salary with the coworker, even though it's right there in the handbook. 10 years, if you work for 10 years, you make this much. You will never, and even in a conversation, if it comes up, they will never willingly say, I am making X, Y, Z. And, it's actually something that I've always thought to myself, like, why is it that people aren't so willing to share what they're making, even when it's already known? Like, even when I know what you're making, why is that people aren't willing to share? And a part of what you just said about judging, I think it's it's one of those things where you don't want to be um you don't want to be seen in a light that you're not, right? So for example, if you know that you're making six figures, right, and your circle that of friends that you're in, they're not making six figures, you'll find that the person who's making six figures sometimes will pull back from talking about it because they may not want the friends to feel uncomfortable because the friends are not making it, or
Right.
the opposite, the friends who aren't making it don't want to hear because they're thinking, I'm not making it, so
right.
they can sometimes, and again, it all goes back to knowing your friends, right? Like, your friends going to be supportive, they're not going to be jealous of you, then you can talk about it. But there are some friends who, you're like, no, then they're going to be jealous. In the back of their head, they're going to be like, whatever, man, I ain't making no six figures. I don't want to hear about your six figures. So it all goes down to knowing your circle. No, I only have one circle, Cherry. So
My bad. But I always say that. I say that because I think some of it is it's less about tell me what you're making and more about what are those strategies that's working for you.
Right.
And I find that I think my friends are like, oh, everyone's doing amazing. I'm like, oh, that's dope. That's amazing. How does that work? But when I look at the things we talk about on a regular basis, we will talk about everything. We talk about pocketbooks. We talk about every single thing except for money. And I've always said to myself, if we're doing these amazing things, I'm sure there's some amazing strategies that's happening that we're not sharing with each other.
Yeah.
You know, you look at other groups of people. I'll use Jewish
The
community.
Jews.
They will share all the secrets. Like, tell me what you did, and I'm gonna share it, right? So I often wonder about our level of comfort talking about those things, even if we're not finance experts. Like some of us are like licensed financial experts, but whether you're licensed or not, you working with money, you got financial goals, you meeting those goals, you know. So I've always like, it's like a pet peeve in the back of my head. I'm like, I don't want to talk about dating. I want to talk about what's happening with these funds. How are you doing with these funds, right?
Carrie, as you said that, let's have a conversation last week, and we were talking about our kind, Black people, and how we go about helping each other. And I mean, it's something that have always bothered me. If you notice how we go about it, as long as I am on top, I will help you all the way to here, as long as you don't pass me. But the minute you start passing me, the help is over. And that's a Black mentality that I don't like. You said the Jews. They will share everything with each other because everybody's rising together. But you know, and it's a bad thing that our culture have. And I'm going to say it's culture. It's a bad thing that we have where as long as I am up here, I will help you all the way right here. But the minute you start passing me, honey, we have a problem. And I don't like it. You're right. Right. I don't like it because if let's say you're climbing and your strategy is working for you, right? Share with your friends, like, listen, man, I'm doing this, it's working, it's bringing in this much, blah, blah, blah. Come along with me, let's do it together. So if we're climbing together. But you find that our culture don't encourage that. You know, it's that doggy dog thing where I gotta stay on top. And we were even saying, you know, when you think about like when Jamaicans, for example, you know, I was lucky enough to have my dad who filed for us and we came to the country legally and all that good stuff. But you know, and I can say because she's dead and gone, God rest her soul. But I remember my aunt, my dad, my brother stayed with my aunt for a while because you know my father, we all of us could have stayed in the apartment at the same time. And when she was helping my dad, it was great. But the minute my father started doing well and my mom got a job and things started tapering off and now he's buying a house, things changed. And it was very noticeable how their relationship changed, you know? And this was an aunt that I thought was supportive of my dad and loved my dad, da, 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 da. But the minute he started somewhat getting to her level, the dynamic changed. You know, think about when you're Jamaicans and you come up here to stay with a family member legally. After 2 weeks, when you get a job, they tell you you have to start paying the bill. You know, you got to start paying this. You have to start paying that. Listen, man, I'm not going to out anyone, but a Spanish couple that I know. Listen, now this is very illegal. So I wanted to say where they live, but they just transformed their garage into an apartment. The garage. They've shifted the garage, tiled the floor, put a bathroom in it, and have their people staying in it. Everybody's paying this mortgage. And there's like 10 families in this one house paying the mortgage. Everybody's going to save up. They can buy their own. They help each other out. But we're not like that. And it's sad, but you're right, Carrie. We're not like that. We got to.
I'm going to be devil's advocate. Only because, well, actually, let me go to the original question. I actually don't, well, that's maybe because I am not entrepreneurial, so I don't have much to share, but I will share with all and sundry what I'm doing. I don't necessarily need to know your income, but like if you want to buy a house, listen, you know how much people papers will help file? You know how much affidavit to support me? Every minute I'm like, the 10 years passed? Like I am I am down for the cause, but I must add a context to it in. And it's so sad because what Sophie's saying, like I know so many good people come here and they're gonna stay with their family, and I just know, give them 3 months, they're gonna have tensions and stuff is gonna happen. And it's so sad because then I know some good people that come up here and they, if they could only do for themselves, they would, and they've
Right.
end up staying with the worst abusive people. And I'm just like, why, Lord? Why do things always jive that way? Why is it that decent people who are trying to make it have to link up with these family members that are just so unsupportive, and some of them call on that, like it's, I mean, like I've heard awful things that even people, and because I go to church, we tend to have a really good supportive like community. Well, I can say that for Adventist church. We don't talk about doctrine, but I'm just gonna say we have one of the best supportive communities I know. And so a lot of times I see people standing in the gap because of the weirdest, like your own family.
Yeah.
Like
Remember.
they want you in jail. And I'm just like, that's not right. So it's like I saw both sides, right? Like I've seen people come here and it's like they want to make the house that they staying in that they're not paying money for, is like they want the person to lose their house. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
really now?
Yes,
And I've seen other
yes.
people come here and they're working hard, and the people that just treat them so bad, and they just came here and they're not acclimated yet. So it's
Yeah.
like there's both sides, and it's true. It speaks to why. It's like
Yeah.
why? What that can be, that tension
Yeah.
is like, I don't know.
It can be disheartening. So
Yeah.
as we're thinking through, and this is a quickie, so I want to hear from you guys about what are those money lessons that you know for sure at this point in your life, right? Pulling together your experience from childhood, from adulthood, right? All the things like culminating in this space. What are those money lessons that you would share with someone that's listening right now that you think is like best practice? This works. I've seen this work in my own life, or I've seen this work somewhere else. Any money lessons that you want to share?
So man, I'm so bad at this, but sticking to a budget, I'm so bad at sticking to a budget though. I just know that my budget is X, Y, and Z. That means that I'm not the type of person that budgets and say, okay, I'm going to Costco and I can only spend $250. That just means that if I go to Costco and I spend $400, I have $150 less to do something else.
Right.
But I'm not saying that that's the best thing to do. I'm really bad at staying on budget. Like I'll go to Costco and I'll pick up everything we need. And I'm sure y'all been to Costco. And when you go to Costco, Costco is not $20. Okay, $20 is one thing. Okay, so when I'm done with Costco, there goes my food budget. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes I have a house full of people and I didn't budget for that. But I try to stick to the budget that I have. I also am much better now at not touching my savings. I used to always have the savings in the back of my mind, like, okay, if I just go over my budget by $100, I can pull the $100 out of the savings and move it over. I'm a lot better at not touching my savings at all and saying, okay, I have to do X, Y, and Z about like it's gonna cost me X, Y, and Z to do this such a thing. Let me just put that aside. And things are becoming a lot more realistic for me. So before I used to be like, I want to go on a trip to wherever, and I'm gonna set aside $500 and go on a trip, and it's $1,000 you spend by the time you're done. Now I just have to be realistic in what I am going to save. I am not going to realistically save $30 to go to Costco. That's unrealistic. So I am realistic in my ideas now that I'm living. And I try not to touch my savings, and I try my best to budget out the money. Try my best not to just do those sporadic spendings where you just go online and you're like, oh, 30% off. Let me grab that. Oh, that's cute. That you can get for $20. Let me get 3 of those. No,
Right.
That is not me at all. That was never me. That's not me. And I try to stay away from that because by the time you know it, your bill is you spent $500 over your budget and you have no idea where the $500 came from. But you
Yeah.
cute though. You cute.
One thing I can say that have worked for me over the years in terms of my savings, from the day I opened my savings account, I have never gotten a card for it. So if I need money out of my savings, I have to drive to the bank to get it. Now, nobody has time for that. And I purposefully did that
Oh, I
because
will.
I know if I have a card and I'm outside on the at some store and I run out of money, I'm gonna pull the money. So when I opened an account, they were like, "Do you want a card?" I was like, "No, I don't want a card. I want to know that if I have to get money, I have to drive." And I make sure the bank at the time, of course, even though that bank was nowhere close to me. So I had to drive 20 minutes to get to that bank. So my savings account
Sorry.
stayed.
Pause. You said 20 minutes. That is just a trip to the supermarket in Texas, by the way. So you saying 20 minutes don't mean nothing to me.
For me, no, see, for me, I'm driving 20 minutes to go take up my money, and that's a problem.
I drive 20 minutes now just to go eat. I don't even know to do
No,
anything.
the difference is if it's just to go to hang out, no, it's nothing. But again,
Right.
this is spending my
This is
money.
an inconvenience for you, yes.
I'm very particular when it
Yeah.
comes to spending. See, I have a side hustle. I do hair, okay? And I always tell people, when you see me buy something, don't judge me too much because money, my 9 to 5, that money does not get spent
Who
on anything.
cares? Child.
No, it does. I mean, now in the summer, here is my 9 to 5, so it's a whole nother story.
Child, you could have a sugar daddy. What business does it?
I'm done with the sugar daddy. But as I say, like I'm very
I
in terms of
understand.
my one thing that has worked for me over the years is I have never gotten a card for my savings account.
Yeah.
It would I have to inconvenience myself to get the money out of the account. And
Yeah.
I made that's one thing that has worked for me. So that way now I find that I don't spend my savings account a lot. Like it stays in there. Another thing that I do with my savings account is I have direct deposit from my job. So I don't see that money goes directly into my savings account. And I also set up with my bank where every year the money goes into a CD. So it goes into the CD, it matures. Whatever is there again goes back into a CD, it matures. So even if you're familiar with the CD, you can't pull money from a CD. If you pull from a CD, you lose money. So
Right.
that's what I did to make sure that I don't ever touch that money. You know,
Right.
and that has worked for me, which is why I was able to save the money that I needed to purchase my home because that money it was going and was never coming out.
Right.
So
I mean,
that is
Those are some awesome skills.
I
Go ahead.
actually
Char?
completely ditto on Sophie. I have two savings accounts. One is credit union through my job, and one my dad works for the state he lives in, and so I also got a credit union through him. And I have no cards. I don't even know really how to get the money.
yeah.
It's just connected to my bank account, so I can transfer to. Matter of fact, I can't even pull it back because
I was gonna
credit unions are so antiquated that if I pulled it, I transferred it in free, I'd have to pay money to get it. So it's okay. It can sit where it sits. Like I'm exactly like so. If I have a savings account on my actual checking account that's associated to my debit card, that's kind of like flush money. That's not savings. My savings, I can't even touch it if I wanted to. Like it's for if my roof caved in. You know, like it's not for I need to buy dinner. No, it's none of that. Like I actually don't have anything new unless you want me to get like
technical into our appearances
right? Because
situation.
The budget, I live by a budget niche.
I
literally,
she broke.
I live by a budget. I don't necessarily follow it, but it's just like niche because I know how much I have spend. So I know what my bills are and I know what's free. So there's no going into the supermarket and not knowing what's in my bank account. Like I'm one of those people, like I don't get declined unless the card's not working because I know what's in my bank account at all times. And so that's what I do. I won't necessarily say it stays in the right categories. sometimes I overspend in other areas, and I know that I can't spend, because of overspending. I know. And then sometimes I'm really good. I have good months, and I really stick to the no eating out and whatever. And so I have cash flow that's like extra. So then I know I have extra money. So I live by a budget. I probably have 6 years of spreadsheets. I can tell you what I spend. Like, because I pay my bills
That's
one time a
important.
month. One
You're
time a
gonna
month,
have
I
to
pay
a
every
budget.
bill. Some of them pay on time, some of them pay early. One time a month, I sit down, I
That's
go
how I do
all
it
the
too.
way through all of my bills, whether they're credit card, light bill, one time a month. It's all paid. And then I'm done with them.
The problem is that though that's the first of the month.
Yeah, that's
That
it.
budget.
It takes a while. I actually had to do that when I was teaching. So I don't know if it's a hustle, but I have a full-time job, and then I also lecture. So when I have that extra money, I had to start
You have to
it.
go
I had to start it that time. I mean, that
Yep.
was years ago and as a student, but once you start it the one time, because you need two paycheck basically. So
right.
once you start the one time, then it
Yeah.
can, if you
I do
maintain
that
it,
too.
you can just maintain it forever like
Yeah.
that.
Oh, okay.
And if you mess
Well,
up, you have tax money. Fix back.
I'm not an expert on the budget to teach me how to budget because you know, I always say I can't budget when I have. So
I say that all the
can't buy
time too.
can't buy, but just don't buy it. But I have no budget.
I know. But
That's something.
listen,
Yeah, no, I only budget my salary. Everything else is extra money. Like I budget only money that I can count on. Like if I know I'm teaching a course and I know I work, so I just put that only that's in my budget. If I get any extra money, like if I
you buy
my
shoes.
tax return, then that's yes. Yeah, okay. Confession. I don't know who they talking about, but I am the one. If I'm emotionally happy, emotionally sad,
Every month.
emotionally angry, emotionally anything,
If
something's
she's
getting hurt.
anything, she buys shoes.
But it's within her budget. It's
But
within her budget. Okay.
But there's enough things you can buy. If you ever need something to buy and you have a budget, let me know. I'm like shopper. Polly.
Well, I think you guys have covered most of the ones that I think are really important, which is automating your savings, automating your bills, just automating things so that
Except for
the money
ATM.
is going where it needs
Sorry.
to go automatic and it doesn't. Go ahead, Char.
Oh, one thing I've always been told, and I guess I do it naturally now, and I think we probably all do it. If you lose your job, if you don't have no money, something happened, you're in an emergent situation, I was always told, pay your housing, and if you have a car note, pay your car and your insurance first. And then if things get really bad, you better pay your car and your insurance first, because it can help you go to a job. Maybe you have to bounce somewhere. I mean, it probably won't ever get that bad, but like if you have to prioritize things, house, shelter, and your transportation is always like priority. Pay a car insurance, pay a car note, because
Right.
man, there's nothing like. I mean, I
Yeah.
guess because we don't live in the city too. There's nothing like if you are out, even not having somewhere to live is less concerning to me than not being able to get to a job or find an opportunity because you don't have transportation. It's like a essential.
That is true. I agree with that. I also would add spend time with people that are doing the things you want to do. So if you want to, I don't know, start investing or buy a house or buy an investment house or whatever you're trying to do, finding the people that are doing those things and talking to them about what works, what you should know, what are some pitfalls, right? Like all the things that aren't in the book. What I will say though, when you're talking to those people, I think it's always helpful to come with like a basic understanding. Like sometimes, you'll have conversations with people about, let's say, buying a house, but you haven't done any of the basic research. It's almost like you got to come with a basic understanding and then talk to them from that framework versus like coming as a blank slate and not having done homework. I think that's really helpful, hanging out with people who are doing the things you want to do. And I think the last thing I'll say is just being more mindful of or intentional about learning. And it ties into that spending time with people. But finding books and authors and people that are teaching the things you want to learn. I'm gonna give a plug for one of my favorite finance people is Susie Orman, and she's the reason I got very interested in finance. I love her I think she's very no nonsense. She's very old school, but I think she's one of those people that I can relate to finance wise, and she's taught me quite a bit. So there's a ton of people out there. I think there's this. I'm not too familiar with her. I don't know if you guys know her, but she's a black woman from Newark, the Budget Nista.
I heard of her.
Yeah, she's really good too. But again, many people out there to learn from. But I think it's really important to learn what's happening in finance.
Yep.
Anything else before we go today?
Don't put your money under the mattress because the house might burn down.
Don't put your money under the mattress, please. Don't do it. Don't do it. Do have a stash because the way things are looking, sometimes these banks might be looking a little crazy.
Right?
So
Run with your money. Just run.
Have a stash. Have a stash.
Trump will
Okay.
never have that.
All right. If there's nothing else, thank you, ladies, for an awesome
Thank
episode.
you.
I
This
appreciate
was
you guys
great.
opening up about the money things.
Yep.
Until next time, see you guys soon.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Great.